So we're learning Likkutei Sichot, volume 1, Parshas Bereishit, and we're skipping to section 7. Okay? So you're welcome.
We missed out Erev.
Right.
Okay.
Shabbos, go ahead. Shabbat Melchim Chodesh Melcheshvan. Today is also, Shabbos Bereishit is always the Shabbos on which we say the blessing of the month for the month of Cheshvan. But it's called Melcheshvan. Right? There's two different ways of it. So all the names of the months came from Babylon, but many of them were changed. They were converted when they were introduced into Torah, into Judaism. So one of the main ones that was converted was Malcheshvan. So now I'm sorry that I don't remember which one was the original. Whether in Babylon they called it Malchesh, that was the name, or Cheshvan was that. I don't remember which one it was, but one of them was. So today
I understood the original name was Cheshvan, and the Jews added up the Mal.
Could be, could be you're right. I just don't remember.
But I don't have a proof for that.
So why is it called Malcheshvan? So the reason this month is called Malcheshvan is how is that? Well, the word Mal literally means a drop. It's a drop of rain. Literally means a drop.
I thought it was Tipa.
Tipa. Tipa is a Mal. Which begs the question of what does Tipa Mara mean?
Tipa?
Tipa Mara. They use for liquor, for alcohol. There's an idiom in Hebrew called
that's like a wee drop.
Yeah, it's like a tiny drop. Anyway, Mal means in the Tanakh a drop, like in the verse that we say every morning. Kol hagoyim kemar midli. You say that every morning, right? What does that verse mean from Isaiah? All the nations are like a drop out of a bucket. It's a drop of water out of a bucket. That's all it is in Hashem's eyes. That's like a saying that as long as they continue to act distant from Torah, it's like they're just a drop out of a bucket.
Well, like a drop out of a bucket anyway.
No,
the whole world is like a drop of water out of the whole ocean.
The water always symbolizes Torah. So if you're a drop out of the bucket, it means that all your wisdom, you have wisdom. It's not that it's not. It is water. It is something, but it's a drop out of the bucket. It's like all the rain that we get down here is a drop out of what there is above. So the lower wisdom is considered to be a drop out of the higher wisdom. And that's as long as all they pursue is their worldly wisdom. But when they will decide to pursue the Torah's wisdom, then they'll be part of the bucket, the Dli. Dli, the whole thing about, they call it Aquarius. Why does he choose Dli there? Why choose a bucket? A bucket is really the sign, the constellation Aquarius. And Ibn Ezra writes that the Am Yisrael doesn't have a sign. We don't have a zodiac sign. But the closest thing that we have,
ruled by this,
because we're above the constellations. So he says the closest thing that we have is Aquarius. Why Aquarius? Because that's the Torah. The Torah is like our mazel. The Torah is like our constellation. Anyway. So the Rebbe now wants to get into the difference between dew and rain. What's the difference? It says at the beginning of the Torah in our parsha that we're going to read, sorry.
You jumped.
I didn't jump. Yeah. Anyway, what it says is there was no rain yet. Why was there no rain? Because man had not started praying for rain.
Right.
So man needs to pray for rain. So what does it mean he needs to pray for rain? What it means is that rain comes as a consequence of our actions. It depends on us. But dew is not dependent on man's actions. It's a natural phenomenon. They're both natural phenomena, but there's no dependency by dew. Dew is not influenced.
Well, Hashem couldn't stop the dew if the Jewish people.
Hashem could, but it's Hashem deciding. There's nothing to do. There's no built-in.
All right, let me put the question the other way. It couldn't rain if Hashem wanted it to rain, even if nobody asked for the rain.
Of course, but there's no built-in mechanism by the dew that we would influence the dew. But there is such a mechanism built into the rain. It doesn't mean that Hashem has to use that mechanism. He can ignore it. He can do whatever he wants. But in principle, he set up the world in such a way that this mechanism is functioning all the time. So for that reason, what's the sign of it? That rain stops. There's a rainy season. Of course, you have to be in Israel to understand this. If you're in England, I don't think they understand what rainy season means. Right? Because it rains all the time.
But in the Far East, they understand droughts.
Well, in Morocco, they understand that too. And
in Pakistan.
Yeah, in Pakistan, they understand that. But they don't understand that, for instance, in Florida. I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean rainy season? It's always a rainy season. But in Israel, there are seasons. They're distinct by the amount of rainfall that there is, the amount of precipitation. So in the summer, there is no rainfall, but there is dew. In fact, we talked about this once. Many of the produce that comes from the fields, especially in the Negev, depends on dew for its water. And so you can actually plant in the desert all year long because of the dew. So dew is not, it never stops, but rain does stop. Because rain depends on our toil, it is more difficult. This is also the difference between the season of the summer and the season of the winter. Because summer is about dew, because again it doesn't stop, it comes from above as it were, it depends only on the God. And winter is about rain, geshem, which comes from below, which is conditional on our actions. So that's why winter is more difficult. You have to work harder. More difficult means you have to work harder.
There's godliness in it.
Sorry?
There is less Halakashah Kodesh Baruch Hu.
Right. We'll say that in a moment. This is what he says now. It's not that the sun is out in the summer and that's why God is closer. It's the other way around. God is closer in the summer. Why? Because there's a verse that says in Tehillim, Shemesh u'magen havai Elokim, that God is likened to the sun and its sheath. So because of that, because God is closer in the summer, what does it mean he's closer? That he's taking care of everything by himself. It's not dependent on my actions, or it's less dependent on my actions. So if in the summer the dew comes even without my actions, it's consistent. It has nothing to do with what we do or don't do. So that means that God is closer. It's an easier time of the year to be aware of godliness in the world. And for that reason, to show that to people, because people only understand something physical, concrete. So there's a lot more sun in the land of Israel during the summer. Especially from the time of Tammuz. But in the winter it's not like that. So the fact that the sky, that the sun can be cloudy, can be covered, is telling you it depends on you to come closer to God in the winter. Because what does Hashem want? For me, he wants toil. Winter is the time of the toil.
Wouldn't you expect Hashem to be closer to the world in the time of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur? That's the time when you judge, that's the time when you tshuva.
It still is part of Tefillat Tammuz. Up till the middle of Tishrei, until the very middle of Tishrei, it's still called the time of Tammuz.
And that's Sukkot.
But then, once you get to the middle of Tishrei, it's Sukkot, so now we've switched. Now we switched into
We're going out to Hashem in Sukkot. So you would expect Hashem to be closer?
You get Hashem closer by the schach. You don't get Hashem closer by the... You don't see the sky. We're building something else. The whole thing begins with the work of Rosh Hashanah, you're right. Because in Rosh Hashanah we begin to toil. There's a lot more work that's done during Elul. It increases slowly.
Should be.
And then finally, in the height of it, the height of the work, let's call it, the height of the work from below is Yom Kippur. In Yom Kippur, it says that the cloud cover of the year is a consequence. It's It depends on the cloud made by the incense in the Holy of Holies. That cloud of the incense turns into the clouds that cover the land during the winter. הרבי, כבוד קדושת מורי וחדמי האדמו"ר, אמר פעם שבקיץ קלה עבודת השם מאשר בחורף. So that's why the previous Rebbe, my father-in-law said that it's easier to serve Hashem in the summer than it is in the winter because Hashem is closer as it were. שבת מברכים על החשבון נתינת כוח לחודש הגשמים. So the Shabbos Parchim, Shabbos Bereishit, the Shabbos that we're now going to have, is when we bless the month of Cheshvan. So it gives the strength for the month and the months of rain. Shabbat Mevachim Mal Cheshvan Chala Arei B'Chodesh Tishrei. It itself, you bless the month in the previous month. The Shabbos itself is still in Tishrei. HaChodesh HaShvi HaMusubah B'Kol, the one that is filled, satiated with all the good things, all the holidays that we have. It's the 7th month from Nisan.
So it's like Shabbos blessing the week. Right.
So here we're using the month of Tishrei to bless the month of Cheshvan. And again, Mal Cheshvan means the drops of Cheshvan. And so it provides the strength. Again, it's when you're conscious of these things, they actually influence you. I mean, this happens anyway, but when you're not conscious of it, you're not influenced by it. You don't. It's like when a person needs to exert effort, and so if you do it half-wittedly, you don't really think about it, then you can't exert all your effort. But when you understand that this is what's expected, this is what's going on, this is what's expected now, then the effort you make is much better. It has a lot more. It produces a lot more. So if you're aware of this, that on the Shabbos we're blessing the month of the rain, so you're giving yourself more awareness, more strength. Awareness is energy. Awareness is consciousness. Consciousness is the strongest form of energy in the universe. And so it's the strongest form of energy in the universe.
What is?
Consciousness. Human consciousness. That's why it's the most important thing.
What is the energy in human consciousness?
The types of energy that we know about are very limited. We only know about kinetic energy, light energy. We know energy in different forms, radiation. But when you sit and think about it, who knows all these energies? These energies are not aware of themselves. They can't even manipulate themselves.
Yeah, you burn up a lot of calories by thinking.
So those calories, even scientifically, they represent the total culmination of the universe's creation, which came down into a grain of wheat that I turned into bread and meat to fuel this thing. And this thing is like the center of the universe in that sense. It's like everything was teleologically. They don't like this word in science now, but that's where it's going. It's the top of the pyramid. That nobody, I don't think anybody argues with. It's the top of the pyramid. Why? Because it knows God, it knows itself. So when you have consciousness that this is what's going on now, that when I bless the month of Cheshvan now, if you have consciousness of it, you're adding energy into your effort. And so this gives us the strength that even though it requires our effort, but this blessing that we give it is a blessing from above. It's Yivarcheu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Yivarcheu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Togav Livracha, L'Sason Simcha, L'Chaim Shalom. Right? The Rebbe used to say quietly the whole Nusach, the whole 12 things. What we say there. In Chabad, in the Siddur, it says only 3. There's a lot more in that Yehiratzon.
Where is this Yehiratzon present?
When you bless the month, so there's a Yehiratzon at the end. We don't say Yehiratzon, we say Chadasheu HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleinu V'Kol Yisrael. מביצוע עבודת החורף משפיעה שבת מר חשוון שבתשרי על כל השנה כולה בגשמיות וברוחניות גם יחד. And by toiling, again, what does this say here? This idea of rains is that man has to exert effort. then that nature is not going to take care of him by itself. He wants to move forward. Like the Rebbe used to say, the definition of a human being is somebody who's constantly
Mahalech.
moving. He always wants to develop. If you stop developing, you stop wanting to develop, you have to take a good look and make sure you're not 6 feet under. Because you may have fallen asleep at night and not woken up. Very good. So we finished the Sichot. Next week we'll continue with the Moach. Shabbos.